Rich and powerful landlords are forcing helpless tenants out of their homes, and they'll use any means to throw them out in the street.
Shit!
E. Bartley Alden, landlord.
We must empty these buildings immediately or the deal will fall through and we stand to lose millions of dollars.
Emmanuel Jackson, landlord.
Get him.
Ain't that what I told you? I told you all this shit with lawyers was wasting our time.
Abraham Mirsky, landlord.
So don't give him an ordinary payoff. Give him an extraordinary payoff. But let's get it done, for God's sakes.
Clarence W. Ingstrom, landlord.
You just can't come out and tell a judge of the state Supreme Court that you're having somebody murdered.
Claudius Albano, landlord.
People live in those buildings. People. And as crummy as those dumps are, they're people's homes. And don't forget it, mister. They're not leaving, and I'm not leaving. So you can take this here polite bribe, and you can shove it up your polite ass.
Death Promise. Starring Charles Bonnet, Tenet, young, strong, deadly.
Damn it, I want those names.
Determined to stop them.
Who sent you?
Fight to the death. Death Promise. Acclaimed by critics as a chilling and exciting motion picture in the tradition of Death Wish. Filthy rich landlords have been getting away long enough. It's time they pay for it. Death Promise. A promise made, a promise kept. Coming to this theater soon. Rated R.
Would you care to read one? Oh, I'm a frog now. See that? I should have saved that for Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah, no, you ruined it.
I totally did.
You jumped the gun like a frog would.
Yeah.
Jump. All right.
Oh, we are off to a great start here. Would you care to do the rundown?
Yes. Death Promise. An apartment dweller goes on a search and destroy mission to kill the ruthless landlords who murdered his family. Film stars Charles, his father. Oh my goodness.
And when you read it like that, when you read the rundown, you make it sound like it's a promising thing.
It does sound promising until you watch it. Film stars Charles Bonnet. I'm going to say it's not Bonnet. Bonnet.
Like French. Lisa Bonet.
Yeah. Speedy Leacock. That was my favorite name, by the way. And they didn't change his name for the movie. They just kept calling him Speedy.
When actually in the movie, he does introduce him as Speedy Leacock.
Oh, even the last name's the same.
Yeah, so I assume that was his character name. And then only afterwards, when I was, looking things up for this, I said, oh, no, that's just his name.
Same with Tiger Yang. Tiger Yang is Tiger Yang. And in the movie, he plays Tiger Yang. But so is Jerry Seinfeld. So, and Bill Louis. We can't forget Bill Louis. Director is Robert Warmflash.
Warmflesh.
Writing credits, Norbert Alberson. Runtime, 1 hour, 35 minutes too long. Budget is meager. And box office probably didn't make anything. Poster tagline, filthy rich landlords get away with murder. It's time they pay for it. All right.
This movie does have a pretty good poster.
It does, yeah. I like those old school painted posters, so that's
That's you know what? I'm gonna say that's one of the best things about Tubi TV. When you go to Netflix or something, there'll be a little screenshot and they put the title of the movie there. But with Tubi, you get the actual posters. Yeah. So you can admire the artwork.
Yeah. And sometimes on Netflix, whatever the thumbnail they use is totally random. Like it'll even be a scene you forgot about in the movie,
or just a close up of one character, and then they'll cut away the background and just put the title there or something.
Yeah. I like looking at the posters myself too. All right,
you ready for some fun facts?
I am.
The UK video version released as Payoff Time. That's a pretty fun title too. Because I had no idea what the story was behind this when I started watching it. That sounds cool. Payoff Time. Anyway, the UK video version was cut by 1 minute and 25 seconds and removed all shots of throwing stars. Because if you remember back in the day, the UK hated like ninjas and stuff.
Oh, that's right.
Like
What
the
did they
Teenage
do?
Mutant Hero Turtles.
Yeah. Well, Raphael couldn't have his swords, right? Or something.
No, it was something about nunchucks for some reason. Swords were okay, sais were okay, but nunchucks were deemed too violent. So Michelangelo, they would like cut out shots of his nunchucks, and then eventually, over the course of that first series, he stopped using them. No, I think it was a gradual thing. First, he would stop using them to attack people. He would only like throw them at objects. Then he stopped using them altogether. Then they gave him like a zip line that he was using instead. It's really stupid.
A zip line.
Yeah.
All right. Well, because there are nunchucks in this movie.
I don't know. Well, this was
those in?
earlier. This was 1977.
Oh, okay.
So maybe
Right.
back then they just had a problem with the ninja stars
Ninjas,
because
okay.
people would get them and start throwing them around, and then later on it went into nunchucks also, and then they wised up and said this is stupid.
And the next fun fact, this is a classic Richard fun fact to sarcastically kind of say that there are no more fun facts, and it just says currently available on TubiTV.com.
Oh, that's true. If you're interested in
is.
finding this movie, you know where to look.
They couldn't get that from this being our Tubi movie episode. No.
And would you like a blank section there?
I'll say this about Death Promise. Out of the 3 movies we watched, I enjoyed this one the most. I mean, at times it felt like a movie, if that makes any sense. It's definitely technically not the best movie. There are a lot of technical problems with it. They had a lot of issue with getting with lighting, really. Lighting. I mean, I'm no expert or anything like that, but I did take a television course, and you generally want to light from above down because that is what light naturally is usually is. Your light source is either the sun, or if you're inside, there's some overhead lighting. You can play with it when you got lamps and all that stuff. For some reason in this movie, they decided to do all the lighting, the indoor lighting, straight on. So there was always a shadow cast behind.
Yeah, there were a couple of particular scenes where it was really jarring. They did some free handheld shots.
Yeah.
At times, and then the shadows are just, it's like there's a fire in the room. The shadows are bouncing all over the walls.
Really distracting. And of course, it would catch the microphone all the time. So you would see the mic shadow floating around in there all the time. I did like the theme song.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
The theme song was really good. It was like Death Promise.
Death Promise. Bet you won't put your trust in me. Bet you won't let me go further than you can see. Bet you think I plan something and won't say. If you think I'm thinking of a slicker way. Death Promise.
So they come out and they're so the theme song starts and everything. And it's the 2 guys. You got your 2 heroes. They're in matching yellow tracksuits.
Yes.
As they're running together, having a nice little jog. And then they separate from each other. His friend Speedy Leacock, he says goodbye. I'll talk to you later. And then our hero was a protagonist. The protagonist was Charlie in this one, right?
Yes.
Charlie goes inside of his apartment, and it was a really nice establishing shot where you're watching Charlie in the room in his like small tiny apartment. He's got real crappy appliances, and nothing seems to be working, and you can just get all that from looking at what's happening. But for some reason, they decided to add a VO of some narrator who only appears at this one part in the movie. He does not show up again, but he comes on and he tells you what you're seeing.
Yep.
For some bizarre reason.
But when landlords turn off your heat, water, gas, and electricity to force you to move out. There's only one thing to do. Fight.
I was curious if the narration was planned or if they got to the point and realized we let this shot go way too long. Why don't we throw some narration over it? But every other shot in the movie is super fast. They don't linger on anything. The level of acting in this is, I'm gonna go there and say my line. Cut. Okay, go say your line. Cut. You know, there's no atmosphere. The actors don't hold the scene or anything. There are no little one-off looks or anything. It's just go say the line. Okay, stop. So yeah, I guess they just felt that was a good idea. Because, yeah, like you said, he only has the one time for that narration. They do some strange voiceovers later on from Charlie. He's like, "Oh no, my dad, and I'm gonna get revenge and all that."
Yeah.
But the narrator just one and done.
So these, so I guess the story of this film, if you can call it a story, is that these people live in the slums, basically. I don't know if they pay rent. I don't know if they're squatting in these buildings. They pay utilities.
Yeah, you get the first inclination that something's wrong. Well, I guess it's not the first, but the big problem with the story. All right, they live in the slums, or reasonably okay apartments. Not necessarily a terrible neighborhood. There's no issues with crime or anything. And the neighbors, you have a short scene of them together. It seems like they get along. The problem is that their landlord is intentionally trying to get them out of the building. So when Charlie goes back to his home, the water doesn't work, the lights go out, the gas is off, like everything at once is just like, one after the other, comically, now this isn't working. And you find out that it's not that they haven't paid their bills, it's that the landlords are hiring like two-bit thugs to come in and intentionally pull the wires out and mess with the gas and, the power and everything and turn it off because the landlords are trying to get them out of the building. But we don't know why. They never explain really why they're trying to do it.
They're going to make money.
They're going to make money. There's no we're going to demolish the building and sell to, some superstore and we're going to get a lot of money for selling the property. It's just we're going to get rid of them and we're going to get money. Aren't you making money from your tenants who are paying their rent?
Even if it was business? Like they want to get rid of all these people and get more higher end or something so they could charge more or something, but there was just
and that's
no
the other
explanation.
Thing. There's a group of them. It's not just one landlord. I forget what was it called? It was like the landlord league, or they had some kind of weird name for it.
Landlord League. I missed that one.
I don't know. There was something. But yeah, they're trying to get them out of the building. That's it. So there's Charlie who lives with his dad, and then his friend probably lives nearby in another building. But everybody seems to be affected by this. So they catch a couple of the guys who are vandalizing the building. They're cutting off power. They're bringing boxes of dusty rats. They had this big box full of dust and rats, and they just let it run into the building. And then, of course, Charlie and his friend Speedy, they both study martial arts. They go to, did you see the sign?
I did not.
It was called the Double Dragons Karate Academy.
Oh, an NES reference.
No.
In 1977.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the game took it from this movie. Who knows?
Well, they're in the streets.
Yeah.
There were also a lot of Puerto Rico shirts at the beginning.
I noticed that.
Yeah, like the hero and one of the thugs, or a couple of people wearing Puerto Rico shirts.
It was almost like as if they wanted to make sure that they weren't making any sort of political statement against Puerto Rico by having a bad guy and a good guy wearing Puerto Rico shirts.
I don't think
But
they thought that far.
what they could have done is just not have anyone wear Puerto Rico shirts.
Oh, shit!
So at one point, they stop some of those thugs after they catch them messing with the building. And, you know, all the tenants are around, like, let's beat them up, let's beat them up. But the father comes in, he's like, no, these guys, they're low level, they don't know who they're working for, let them go. You know, we're going to stay strong, we're going to fight through this together. He's like the guy who's trying to rally them all together. So naturally, he's the one that's got to go. So the Filthy Landlord League gets together and they have him killed. And then I want to say that's their plan, but it's not really their plan, because there's a twist involving his death. That's not really a twist, because either the director or the cinematographer didn't realize that when you film the secret subject in shadow and distance,
Yeah.
you actually have to create shadow and distance.
Yes, you notice who the ringleader is very early on in the film, because he's I don't know if he's supposed to, I don't know if he's supposed to be off camera or not.
Well, here's what happens. You have your established landlords, and then you have the secret shadowy figure who's sitting there petting a black cat and has this big fancy ring, and you know, you get this Dr. Claw image from Inspector Gadget. And, you know, that's supposed to be the big secret. Who is this? But you can see exactly who it is. It's another character that was introduced earlier. And, he's slightly out of focus. Maybe they thought that was enough. Maybe they weren't screening their dailies and they, just on like a little monitor. You can't really tell.
Maybe it was cut off on their monitor.
They saw that in another film. They thought, that's a great shot. We should do that. But you got to make sure you can't see him.
Right.
So after Charlie's dad gets killed, Charlie discovers him, goes, oh my God, and then runs away. And then we have to have his friend go up to the apartment.
Speedy goes up there.
And then we get the whole, like, okay, he was killed, and, he's calling an ambulance. No, he doesn't even call an ambulance.
No, he calls
his dad's friend.
Yeah.
He calls his sensei. Yeah.
Right. Sensei, yeah.
It's like, oh, dead guy. And then, like, finally the third party who's not even there is like, oh, let's call an ambulance or, report this.
And Speedy didn't seem to be too shaken up by the whole
thing. Well, neither did his son. He
ran away. He ran away and he was very angry.
He walked slowly down the street, and then later on Speedy just goes and follows him, and then they go sit in a stairwell. Here's where things get a little odd.
Here?
Yeah.
Wait, before we move on, what did you think of, like, when the guys were bringing in the box of rats to dump into the building? What did you think of the extreme close-up shots of rats?
That they do
show
that
up
later on, where
as well, yeah.
It's like they're cutting into the box before we, as the audience, know what's in the box. So it's just sloppy editing.
Yeah, but we already know what's, like, we would see what's in the box when he dumps it out and a bunch of rats come out. Plus, the close-up shot of rat is brown, and when he dumps them out, they're gray and dusty or something.
Well, they're all covered in dust.
Yeah.
They had the shot. At some point, they decided, let's shoot close-ups of rats. And then they decided, all right, we're going to use this. And they liked it so much, they did another rat scene later with a bag of rats.
Yes.
And they did the same thing where you see the rat.
Trick. Yeah. It's almost as if they didn't really feel as if they had a lot of confidence in the people who would be watching this, that would be able to follow along what's going on. Like, we can't expect people just to sit there and watch the guy in this old crappy apartment. We need to add a VO to let people know what's going on. We can't just expect people to watch guys walk into a building carrying a box. We got to tell them what's in the box.
Or maybe
I don't
they
know.
were
Maybe
afraid we wouldn't recognize the rats all covered in dust, so they had to get a good close-up shot.
maybe to emphasize that it is indeed
Mm.
rats. Okay, I'm glad. I thought I had missed something in this movie. I'm glad that you said that. Like that's not really explained too well, and what these landlords are doing, why they're banding together, why they want to kick these guys out. I thought I had missed something, and I didn't really feel like rewatching the beginning of the movie again to see if I missed something. So that's good. I'm glad you said all that.
No, I did find my memo though. It was called the Landlord Syndicate.
Landlord Syndicate. Okay,
Yes.
very good.
There was also a double shot of one of the landlords, Jackson. They're all sitting around having a landlord syndicate meeting, and
Okay.
he takes off his glasses to say something, and then the next time you see him, he does the same thing. He takes off his glasses again to say something.
What happened with the rats?
Yeah, they send some thugs to try to burn down the building. Did you catch that shot? There's like fire and sirens and something's burning, and it cuts to a shot of Charlie just casually reading the
Yeah.
newspaper. He's just like, this is another one of those films that tried to capitalize on the Bruce Lee image. Like after Bruce Lee died,
Yeah.
they had all like the fake Bruce Lees and wannabes because his appearance and style seems to be very reminiscent. Even the yellow
Haircut.
jogging suits.
Mhm.
There's that iconic yellow suit with the stripes that Bruce Lee wore in a movie. You've got their karate sensei, whose name is Shibata, which is a Japanese name, but he's played by a Chinese actor who speaks Chinese in the movie.
Sure. Why not? It's all Asian. It's all the same, right?
Oh,
Silver hair.
his dad had a nice little backstory. He lost to Sugar Ray Leonard. He was a boxer.
That's right. That was
Yep.
good. Yeah. Yep.
And they do lots of scenes like he says, "They're gonna get this over my dead body," and then he has like a time with his son and his friend. He's like, "My son and my other son,
Right.
I'm so proud of you guys." And he
Yeah.
has a scene with his friend. He's like, I love you, and they're hugging and everything. And of course, yeah, he's gonna die. He's gonna
Oh,
die.
of course. Yeah, like it's just
He's
setting
gonna
set
die.
up.
Okay, there you go. They got all the cliche lines out of the way, so you can kill them off. Okay, but here's the weird part. Here's the really weird part. What's the moral of the story? What does Charlie do after his dad dies? His dad had prepared a list. He knew who the bad guys were. And instead of telling his son, he gives the list to his friend, who is his son's teacher, his karate teacher. He says, if my son finds out who killed me, he's going to get himself hurt.
Right.
I need him to calm down, think about it, and do things properly. So don't give him this list until, after a little bit of time, which apparently was 6 months. He finds that his dad dies. He goes to his teacher and says, I want to fight. I want to get revenge. I want to kill. I want to murder. And he says, okay, go to my teacher and he'll teach you how to murder properly.
Right. Makes perfect sense.
So he goes, and you expect he goes to his teacher's teacher, who is like this wise old sensei.
I think his name was Sup Kim. Sup Kim, I think was
that
his
was
name?
that was the other student.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
The other teacher, he was Master Ying.
Okay.
No, Ying was Tiger Ying.
It doesn't matter.
There's a master in there. No, his name is Master Ying. We had double Yings.
Lots of Yings.
But
No Yangs.
Master
Only one
Ying is played by probably the youngest person in the film.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Just had, like
some gray
streaks
in the hair
on top of his black hair, and
Yeah.
then like some wrinkly old man makeup.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
But at least we could understand what he said, unlike his regular teacher, who about every third or fourth word you could make out.
Yeah. if that.
Part of it was his pronunciation. Part of it was the miking. It just, I don't know. But anyway, he goes to him and then he teaches him how to murder. Like
Right.
he trains him how to kill, and then he goes back to he makes a
Wait,
friend there.
before he goes back,
Mhm.
this old what's his name again? Yang?
Master Yi.
Master Ying. Master Ying kills a fly with chopsticks.
No,
Which
no. It was Charlie who did that.
was it Charlie?
Yeah, because he was
Oh.
training hard, and Master Ying's like, this fly is annoying me.
Oh,
Charlie.
right. Okay.
Flies annoys me.
Well, that was Karate Kid ripped it
Yeah,
off. That's
totally.
really way to
Ripped it
go,
off.
Karate Kid.
And on his way out, though, he presents him with this box of 5 shuriken, 5 ninja
Mhm.
stars.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's it. There are 5 guys. He's going to use one for each of them. That's going to
No.
be his calling card.
No.
No, he doesn't
No.
do that.
It gets crazier than that.
It gets much
The
crazier.
The kills were the craziest part. The kills. So yeah, he goes back.
Extremely elaborate kill.
You have to kill these guys in extremely elaborate ways because it's entertaining. So he goes back to New York. This all takes place in New York,
Yep.
except for where
6 months later now.
6 months later he goes back, and now he's going to kill these guys one at a time because he has a list. I can't remember how he gets a list, or that's right. He was going to find out, but Speedy had the list, and Speedy had been tailing all these guys, so he has all their plan, like all
He's
their
doing all the
routine.
recon.
That's right. Did all the recon work while he's gone, so he knows all the routines. So now this guy is going to kill them all. So the first guy he goes and kills is I can't remember his name.
I remember well, there was the guy, and he had like a little assistant, Jake.
I got a note here. Yeah, Jake was the worst acting in the movie. He was the boss guy. Like, I don't know, boss. Should we do this? I don't know.
Too open here, boss. You oughtn't to be out here alone.
Jake, put that gun away.
We're gonna get into spoiler territory now because we need to spoil this stuff because we need to talk about it. So the first guy, he's kind of like a Guido, I guess. He seems like an
he's supposed to be the
Guido.
mafioso guy.
Right. So they sneak onto his premises, and this is what I loved about all the guards in this movie. Is the guards are he's got a lot of guards, and they're all guarding the premise, but none of them look away from the premise to see if anyone's coming to the premise.
Yeah, they're looking in. Yeah.
So, like, they're looking intently in at an empty tennis court.
Yeah,
because
it's
that's
not
what
even
you
like
do.
they're not looking at the boss.
No.
They're just looking in at the area around.
There's an empty tennis court. Let's keep an eye on this. Hey, the boss told us to keep an eye on the tennis court, and we're going to keep an eye on the tennis court. We're not going to look behind us to see if anyone's sneaking up behind us. We're just going to watch that tennis court. Something else. Absolutely love that part. And then so finally they do kill the guy, but they do this elaborate thing. There was this thing where the Guido guy wanted to have Jake, the boss guy, to like shoot arrows at a target.
Yeah, Guido guy was doing his archery practice.
Right.
And he got like 3 bullseyes, and he's bragging to Jake about it. He's like, "Hey, can you do that?" And then Jake's like, "All right, whatever." And he's holding a tray when he does it. And he says, "Okay." And he just throws the tray on the ground.
Try, Jake.
He tries to take the boss's bow.
Right,
He's like, No, go get your own. Oh, it's in the shed. And there's this whole awkward scene. He's got to go look for it. He's digging through trash and everything. He's talking to himself the whole time. Whoa, where's that bow? What is this? So I gotta look over here. Oh, come on, you stupid bow.
Maybe that was a comic relief. I don't know.
Maybe. They got the job done, but it doesn't seem like it was a plan.
No,
right?
They were just kind of improvising, I guess.
Right, because all right, he's going to go in, he's going to do something, he's going to get his revenge. But basically what they do is when Jake steps away, he confronts the mafioso guy, But then instead of just killing him, he brings him around the back of the target, the archery target, ties him up and has him there. Jake comes back with his bow and arrow.
Doesn't wait for his boss because his
boss isn't
wanted
there.
to see it. Boss not there. No.
But he's just practice, and then he starts throwing arrows out and gets a couple of bullseyes, and then cut to around the back of the target. The arrows, which only penetrate about a few centimeters from the front, are now like half their width through the board and, struck through the boss's body.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they even go through the detail of him finding it. I think like he pulls the arrow out.
He pulls an arrow out that was stuck in maybe an inch and a half, and it now has blood on it.
Right, it comes like back through his skull, completely, very easily too. It just pulls right
Absolutely.
out.
Yeah.
Turns around and sees the boss, and then I think it's the end of the scene.
So that's one guy down. The next guy he kills by. So the guy, they get into a confrontation. Eventually, the bad guy, the landlord, gets into his car with his number one guy, and they're trying to run down Charlie. They're trying to like run him down with the car, and eventually Charlie just kind of dekes the car. He gets off to one side and he punches the side passenger window where the boss is sitting. Punches while the car's moving. The car's moving right by him. Punches that window. This goes through the side car window and hits the boss, and the boss is instantly dead.
Did he hit the boss? I thought it was just the shrapnel, like all the glass coming at him, because they show him all cut up.
Maybe. He cut his hand too.
Yeah, he cut his hand, but that goes away. But he punches right through that window. You see the shattered glass, and then the boss is all bloody and just unconscious and in the seat. And then he runs away.
So that was a good one.
Mm-hmm. There was a cool car elevator in that. I like the elevator. They were driving. They got the car in the elevator, go up.
Yeah.
Charlie just runs, knows exactly where they're going. Punches that glass.
The next boss is killed. They do they called it an old ninja trick, where the boss is sleeping on his back with his mouth open. So they were able to sneak past the guards, and he was able to get like a bamboo stick, shoot like through an opening between the door and.
This is all based on the fact that they somehow knew they would be able to get access to an open window where the boss is sleeping with his mouth open, and they properly measured the distance of how long of a stick they would need. But he's on the roof. Yeah, it's like a piece of bamboo that has been cut in half, so it's got like a groove going through it. And there's a string running along the groove and hangs down a bit. So he sneaks on the roof, puts that thing through the window. There's two guards directly below him, and they're doing and they're just looking out. And they even see, because Speedy's there fighting some guys, and they're like, "Oh, should we go over there and help?" "No, they got this. Judge told us to watch the door. We gotta watch this door. Hey, Judge is real good to us, we better watch this door. We're gonna protect him."
Hey, at least those cops were looking out.
We were told to stay here, so we'll stay here. That's all. I think they can handle it.
Better than pounding a beat in the park.
Well, you don't get these kind of jobs all the time, so let's take advantage of it. I hope nothing really happened down there. I don't think so. Well, we were told to stay here by the sergeant, so here we stay.
The only two guards in the building that should have been looking in, because the boss was right there, was looking out.
So Charlie's like dripping poison onto the string, which then runs down the length of the string to the end, and then drips off, which is going right into the boss's open mouth.
By the way, that was done before in a James Bond film. Of course, it was executed much better, and the poisoning was done with thread. If you try to use string, The
Soak it
poison
up.
is just gonna get soaked
Yeah.
up the string.
My note on that was they saw this somewhere and thought it was a good
James Bond.
idea.
It was a James Bond movie. I believe it's You Only Live Twice. I think that was the one. So the next boss or landlord, this is the one that Speedy takes over because this guy actually killed Speedy's, was it cousin or brother or something?
Yeah, Speedy gets a backstory all of a sudden.
It's time for Speedy's
It's
backstory.
just,
We need it.
it's just he said they're up to the next one. He says, "I want this one," and Charlie's so gung ho. He's like, "No, they're all mine. I'm gonna kill them. I don't need your help," and blah blah blah. And then of course, okay, you can help me. But he tells about how his brother overdosed because this landlord was also a drug dealer, and his brother was only like 12 years old. So I want to kill this one. So he dresses up like a mailman and then puts a bag of rats over his head.
Here's a present. Skinny little kids. Eat my bop.
Yeah. That's a good way to go. Why not?
That was another fake out scene where I think they were hoping you wouldn't notice because Speedy's dressed as a mailman, goes and delivers a letter to the landlord's
yeah.
house. Guard takes it in, opens it up, is like, "I'm gonna kill you" or something. And then Speedy's running away dressed as a mailman. The guards go out to chase him, and then you can see it's clearly not him. It's Charlie who's running away, and then I guess you're supposed to still think it's him, but you can see, okay, that's Charlie, and then finally he runs towards the camera, his hat's down, and then he lifts his head up, real like extreme close up, and that's supposed to be the reveal. Oh, it was Charlie all along. So after that, we're down to the last landlord. Oh, and this is a really good one. Because to get to the last landlord, they have to go through like an apartment complex, like a building.
Yeah. This is the last level in the video game.
This is really like elaborate. They've got this elevator hooked so that no matter what button you press, you come out at one door. Because right now they know these guys are coming. All the other landlords have been killed. So they've got it set up where you're going to go to this one level, and there's a guy with a machine gun waiting there. And then they got a guy with a machine gun in the stairwell also. So no matter what way these guys come up, they're going to get gunned down.
And their machine guns were old Tommy guns from the 1920s.
It was like with the round clip.
Yeah.
Real Dick Tracy style. Tommy guns.
Yes.
So at this point, Charlie and Speedy who stopped to get his hair done, he had this like big afro
right
throughout the whole movie, and now he's got cornrows going. It was like a victory celebration. I don't know.
Well, he killed Jackson. So.
He got revenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Treat himself to a day at the spa. So another one of his friends the guy who trained to murder with comes, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here in New York. Let's go murder together." Okay. And all these guys there have no problem with all this revenge murder. They're just, okay.
Yeah.
They're bad landlords. They're trying to kick you out of your building. So they got to work their way up this building and get in to fight the main landlord guy. But suddenly the machine gun guys are taken out, but it's not them. It's like, oh, they're able to get into the building. They see them and they're like, oh, what's this? And like, forget about it. We don't have time to think about this. Let's go rush into here.
Right.
And then we get the wonderful scream fight where everyone starts making funny noises and taking their shirts off and just screaming at each other as they punch and kick. That's a big point of at least the first two movies. All the martial arts stuff, it was the age of you got to make funny noises when you do martial arts.
Well, they're all imitating Bruce Lee, right?
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, they're not to sound offensive or anything. That is part of martial arts. Like making the sound as you strike.
Right.
but there's like a certain intent, and you can tell when it's serious, and you can tell when they're just making silly noises and screaming.
I liked how this main, he's like we'll say he's the main landlord bad guy. I like how he really wanted, he reminded me of Donald Trump a little bit. He really wanted to get that victory lap in so bad, because anytime he heard a gunshot outside of his door, it was like, it's drinking time, boys. Here, let me pour everybody a shot. And it's like, you don't even know what happened. You heard some gunshots and you're assuming they're dead.
Well, okay, boys. How about a drink?
So they get him. Charlie finally uses his ninja stars, and I think he sinks like one or two of them into him. One in the hand, one in the neck, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then, dun dun dun, we get the big reveal of who the mastermind was all along, which is
the Sensei.
Yeah, Sensei, who we saw stroking that cat.
That's right.
Making creepy looks and everything. Yeah.
The first third of the movie we saw him, but now it's been revealed.
Well, that's screenwriting 101. You can't introduce a new character that late into the movie. It's got to be somebody that you already saw.
Right.
So it's him, and he has two sons that we briefly saw earlier in the movie. He was training, and of course it's Charlie and his two friends. So everybody's got somebody to fight. It's like Speedy and Sup Kim are fighting off.
Sup Kim was really good with the nunchucks.
He was. Really, they made sure to show that several times.
Yes. He's a terrible actor, and you're wondering why he's in the movie, and then he showed off his nunchuck work, and you're like, oh, that's why
they found somebody who could do that. But then he's so good with them that after he beats somebody up, one of the henchmen, he throws the nunchucks away.
Don't need those anymore.
And when he throws them down, they look like they're made out of plastic.
They were definitely wobbling a lot when they hit that body.
And then, of course, there's somebody else to fight later. And it's just like the boss. Don't celebrate too early.
Right.
Keep those nunchucks. A big fight on the rooftop between Charlie and his sensei.
Well, before that, the sensei has them, right? He's got them cornered. He could kill them. Mm-hmm. But he's like, you know what? Come with me. Come up over here on the roof, because I want to tell you exactly. I want you to understand before you die why I betrayed you. And so they get together, and his big speech, the sensei's big speech, is he wants to make sure that Charlie understands how much he doesn't care. That's why he's doing all the things he's doing. But if you didn't care, why are you doing all this big grandiose speech? Wouldn't you just kill him?
But we still don't know what the motivation is.
Zero.
What is his goal? What is he trying to do?
Does he need money? I don't know.
Is he going to be the new landlord that kicks people out of their buildings to get money?
He seemed fine running that dojo or whatever the heck that thing is called.
He had some loyal students there.
Yeah, he seemed fine doing that, but for some reason,
Well, as fun as the other kills were earlier, this is by far the most satisfying one for me, because after a big fight, you get the scene where Charlie's got a sword, Sensei jumps at him, and then, he gets it in the gut. He wobbles back, falls down, and dies. Charlie, who's out for revenge, that's not enough.
Mm-mm.
He lifts the body up over his head, Darth Vader style, takes him to the edge, and throws him off a roof. And we get to watch.
Throws a dummy off the roof.
We get to watch a dummy fall all the way down and impact comedically onto another roof. Which got a big laugh out of me.
Well, and I'll say that is why this was my favorite out of all three, because I got a lot of unintentional laughs out of this movie. Out of all three, this one had me laughing and stopping, writing notes and everything the most. I don't know if it was because it was the first one, but I definitely had the most fun watching this one.
I definitely took more notes in the first film and then gradually less as we went along. A lot of these I probably didn't need to write down, but I was trying hard.